Good evening, everybody, and I'm back. I know I've been behaving a bit like a jack in a box, popping up now and then. And Revered Maharaj is right. Just yesterday, I was in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, on top of a 14,000-foot peak. And then another one, a 12,000-foot peak, which we climbed, and then I got trapped in a hailstorm. And you can imagine, without warm clothes and hailstones with a bald head. So, and then I've been up and traveling since 3 a.m. today. I think I got about 2.5 hours of sleep last night. So the combination of the hailstones and sleep deprivation, don't take what I say too seriously. I don't know what I'm going to say, but don't take it too seriously. Houston Smith, in his classic, The Religions of the World, which, by the way, originally was called, in a less politically sensitive time, was called The Religions of Man. Now, of course, that won't do. It's Religions of the World. In the first chapter on Hinduism, he starts with thinking that how can I make sense of Hinduism? It's so vast and diverse and varied. What can be a theme to introduce Hinduism? And he hits upon a beautiful scheme. He says that Hinduism basically tells us that you can have what you want. And then he says, before you get too happy about it, really the question now is, what do we really want? And that's a difficult question, actually. And the way Hinduism goes about it is, look at what people do. What do they really chase? People go in search of pleasure. You know, good food, music, the company of friends, relationships, whatever. All kinds of pleasure, from simple physical pleasures to art and music and intellectual pleasures and so on. So pleasure is a way that human beings search for fulfillment, happiness, satisfaction. Of course, pleasure is limited. Somerset Maugham, the one who wrote The Razor's Edge, he writes that if you single-mindedly chase pleasure, very soon you find nothing pleasing anymore, right? Luckily, there are other avenues for satisfaction. In search of happiness, human beings, we go to wealth and achievement, name and fame and status. The first pursuit, pleasure, in Sanskrit is called kama, the search for pleasure, search for satisfaction through pleasure. The second one, the search for satisfaction through material wealth and success and power, all kinds of pursuits that we do, it is called artha. But we are searching for the same thing. We are all searching for happiness or satisfaction. And the question, why are we searching for happiness, is a very odd question. Nobody asks that question. Why are you doing it? Because it will make me happy. And that's the end of it. Nobody asks any further. Why do you want to be happy? Nobody asks. Why do you want to be satisfied? Nobody asks. Why do you not want to suffer? Nobody asks that. So that's fundamental. We want happiness and we do not want to suffer. In this quest, we search for pleasure. Pleasure has its limitations. We also search for wealth and power and status in society. Not only that, that's called artha, but there's something beyond that. We also want to be good people, moral, ethical, religious, if you are inclined to think that way. So, religious, moral, ethical people given to moral. There's space here. Come. So that is called dharma. Very broadly speaking, a moral life, an ethical life, where you want to do good to others, to expand beyond yourself. That also gives satisfaction, a meaningful life. In fact, that's what many people are searching for in this modern world. When you have had enough of sensuous pleasure, satisfaction in career, meaningful life, a purposeful life, dharma. So dharma, artha, kama. These three are fundamental goals in human life, but the pursuit is the same pursuit. In all of them, we are looking for lasting satisfaction, profound satisfaction, happiness, and overcoming of suffering. You know, in pleasure, my hosts in Denver, day before yesterday, they took me to an ice cream shop. And there, they said, what kind of cup do you want? Ice cream cup. It comes in 3 sizes. I like it, love it, gotta have it. And each is bigger than the last one. I was thinking, how profound. This is how pleasure starts. This is how desire functions. You think it is nice. It would be nice to have that gadget, that relationship, stay in that kind of a place, go to the Rockies. Nice. So you start with, I like it. And then gradually you want more of it, and you get habituated to it, and we say, I love it. And then it becomes obsessive. You cannot do without it. I gotta have it. So it becomes more and more intense. Maybe not for the same thing, but variations on the same thing. And also, notice how the cup becomes bigger and bigger. The same amount no longer satisfies. You need more of it to give you that kind of satisfaction. And economists know this. They call it the law of diminishing marginal utility. That's probably the first lesson in economics we learn in an economics class. But this is not enough. This by itself is not enough. If you have it all, will you be happy, profoundly, lastingly happy? No. Nobody till now has claimed this. You know, just before I came here, there were 2 tragedies in Manhattan just a couple of weeks ago. And it was all over the newspapers. The most famous, successful chef in the world, Anthony Bourdain, he committed suicide. I think just before that or after that, Kate Spade, who I did not know was a big name in the world of fashion, she committed suicide within, I think, a week of each other. Time magazine, writing about this, made a very interesting comment. These are 2 people who have got whatever it takes to be happy the way we imagine it in today's world. In this New Yorkers are very conscious of being New Yorkers. So in this, this most whatever of the cities, and at the peak of our culture. See, I saw on Columbus Avenue, written on this sidewalk, John Lennon used to live there in Dakota. Somebody asked him, why do you live in New York? And he said, New York, if I lived during the Roman Empire, I would have lived in Rome. New York is verily the Rome of our time. So the Time magazine comment is that, the editorial there, then this is very shocking. Whatever our society has put forth as the highest values, these were people who were enormously successful. They were at the top of their fields. They are people who had relationships. They were really rich. They were healthy. Everything. They had everything going for them, whatever you could want. And they killed themselves. Tragedies. But it points to something that dharma, artha, kama by themselves are not enough to guarantee deep, profound satisfaction with life and overcoming of suffering. Here is where today's subject comes in. Religion, spirituality, has 2 sides. There's a conventional religion which tells you want to be happy in this world to the extent that is possible. Tells you how you can pursue your goals in this world, happiness in this world, in a moral way, in an ethical way, and that is dharma, artha, kama. Notice that when we speak about it in India, we don't say artha, kama, dharma. We always say dharma, artha, kama. That means on the basis of a moral and ethical life, you are free to pursue your goals of pleasure and success in life. That is more sustainable, but that does not guarantee success. That does not guarantee that you will ultimately get happiness. In fact, what is guaranteed is that you will not. For time being, we may have many pleasant experiences, and we may think that, oh, the next thing will fulfill me, and the next thing will make me truly happy. It takes a mature soul to realize that it is not working. The Buddha famously said, Dukkham, dukkham, sarvam dukkham. Sorrow, sorrow, all is sorrow. Why? He said, first of all, basically he put it down to change and emptiness. The world is pervaded by change. Anityam, manityam, sarvam anityam. Impermanent, impermanent. Verily all is impermanent. Not just impermanent, but also momentary, transient. Kshanikam, kshanikam, sarvam kshanikam. Momentary, momentary. Verily all is momentary. Not just impermanent and momentary, but empty, void. Shunyam, shunyam, sarvam shunyam. Empty, empty, verily all is empty. Changing, momentary, empty. So, because of these, anityam, kshanikam, shunyam, therefore, dukkham, dukkham, sarvam dukkham. Therefore, it is all pervaded by sorrow. A happy chap, Buddha. Talk about raining on your parade. Very senior Swami of our order, Swami Tapasyanandaji, when he would speak of Buddhism, he would say, Buddhism is a serious religion. It begins with you accepting that everything is sorrow. But a great Indologist, Heinrich Zimmer, he said, actually, the philosophies of India, all of the philosophies of India, Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, whatever, Sikh, all of them are actually profoundly positive, profoundly optimistic. In what sense? Because they say that there is a solution to this problem. It's not endemic, it's not chronic, it's not hopeless. There is a solution to this problem, because it might be sophisticated to say that this is all we have. Make hay while the sun shines, make the best of a bad lot. But not only the religions of India, philosophies of India, but all religions, one common characteristic is they promise that there is a solution. This solution has different names. In India, it is called Moksha. There are various names for this. Moksha, Nirvana. Nirvana is used by Buddhists and Hindus also. Kaivalya. There are lesser known names. Apavarga, for example, a set of ancient Indian philosophies calls it Apavarga. So these are different names for the same thing. A real solution to the most fundamental of human problems. And what's the proof that such a solution exists? The proof is in the lives of those we consider enlightened. There's only one class of people all throughout history, all throughout the history of civilization, all around the world, who can truly and have truly, strongly claimed that they have overcome suffering. There's only one class of people who do not grumble. Those are the people we consider to be enlightened, spiritually enlightened. Those are the only group of people who say that we truly found something that gives us profound and lasting peace and satisfaction. Let's go a little deeper into this. Moksha literally means freedom. Freedom from what? It works like this. One central idea in all the philosophies of India is what is called karma, the law of karma. In its essence, it's very simple. Good actions, consciously done, good actions generate merit, and merit leads to happiness. Good things will happen to you. Sukha in Sanskrit. So dharma leads to punya, punya leads to sukha. And if somebody is consciously, deliberately naughty, adharma, that generates demerit, papa. And the result of that papa is suffering, dukkha. Unpleasant things will happen to you. Now look how they tie it all together. The law of karma, do good, the result is good. In fact, Swami Vivekananda put it very succinctly. He said, good, good, bad, bad, and none escape the law. But whosoever wears a form, a body, wears the chain too. The chain is the law of karma. All that we have done in past lives is upon us, giving the results in this life. So the law of karma, see how they tie it together. If you have good karma, That means a lot of punya, merit stored up. The result will be sukha, happiness. In what sense? We will get plenty of artha and kama. The 4 goals we just spoke about, artha, kama, dharma and moksha. So if you do a lot of dharma, the result will be happiness in the form of artha and kama. The pleasures and the success we want in the world will come easily to us. If I have a lot of bad karma, then the pleasures and the success I want in the world will be very hard to come by. So, artha and kama are produced by dharma or retarded by adharma. And this is the law of karma. It doesn't operate just in this life. All the differences in happiness or in unhappiness that we see in the lives of people all around, that's because of past karma. It has to be. Basically, law of karma in a sense is causality. Causes give rise to effects, and effects must have causes before them. So what we do gives rise to certain experiences in life. Since we are having experiences in life from very birth, then the causes must lie before birth. That means in earlier lives. So you can see how the law of karma, which is nothing but causality, it's pretty reasonable actually. We accept causality in the physical world. All our science, our common sense is based on causality, on notions of causality. Karma is just an extension of the idea of causality into the moral sphere. So because of the law of karma, there is rebirth. We existed earlier in other forms, in other bodies, and this body has been produced. This is a chain actually. It's been produced by our past karma, and what we do in this life generates new karma. Our past karma, the stored up karma and the new karma together, they start giving results in future lives to come. So it goes on. It ensures that we come back again and again. If you look at it, getting chances to learn and grow and develop, yes, in a sense it's there. It's not good news. Karma and rebirth are some of the fundamental, I would almost say axiomatic beliefs in Indian thought. As Swami pointed out, in spite of the tremendous differences among different schools in Hinduism, there's one common thing they all accept, the law of karma. There's one common thing they accept, rebirth. You're born again and again and again. That cartoon I saw in a magazine, there's this American guy talking to an Indian guy. The American guy says, I'm a born again Christian. And the Hindu says, oh, I'm a born again and again and again and again Hindu. So, now when you go through that again and again and again, so all schools of Hinduism accept this. Not only that, all schools of Buddhism accept this. Look at the tremendous differences. The Buddhists won't accept a permanent soul or Atman. They don't. They are either agnostic or atheistic about the possibility of God. So much difference. They won't accept the Vedas as revealed scriptures, but they accept without question the law of karma and rebirth. The Jains accept karma and rebirth. The Sikhs accept karma and rebirth. So in all of Indian thought, this is a central feature. The Swami who said this, he said, "Ye bhari gambhir tattva" in Hindi. This is a very profound principle. In the Abrahamic religions also you find it. Today one of the Christian pastors in the dialogue was saying, as you sow, so shall you reap. In that sense it's there in the Abrahamic religions also. Now as I was saying, this is not good news. Why not? It ensures that we persist across lifetimes. Yes, but as we repeat this endlessly and endlessly, though we may not have memories, but the tendencies are stored up. So it explains why some people are more mature than others, some have particular talents, others have particular inclinations, differences. Over time, the soul matures. A depth comes where the old pleasure-seeking, power-seeking, wealth-seeking is not there from the very beginning. One quickly understands this will not give me happiness. This will not give me true, profound, lasting happiness. It will not help me to overcome sorrow. So, this is where the idea of moksha comes. We are exploring moksha. What is moksha? What is freedom? What is the whole purpose? What is the project of spirituality? The whole point of spirituality is not conventional religion, but this moksha, today's subject. Why does this temple exist? Why are we all here? You may say, no, I had never heard the term earlier. I mean, if you're a newcomer, if you've been coming here for some time, you've heard it many, many times. But you might say, I've never heard the term earlier. How can it be my project? It is. If happiness and satisfaction are your projects, if overcoming sorrow is your project, and it is the project of every living creature, then moksha is the true way of attaining it, is the only way of attaining it, that is spiritual freedom. This concept is again there in every religion. In fact, religion, higher religion, spirituality is built upon it. Whether it is the language of salvation or attainment of paradise or nirvana or moksha or kaivalya, whatever it is, the language is different, the philosophy is different, but the promise is the same. You will be able to overcome suffering, you will attain peace and happiness in life. So this is the great promise of higher religion as compared to conventional religion, which teaches you that if you're not interested in that, if you just want to have a good time here, conventional religion teaches us a moral and ethical and sustainable way to do that. But you want to go further, you want to know the secret of life, the purpose of life, my own existence, and how can I attain truly lasting happiness, then moksha is what you're looking for. Just as an aside, come on in, there's space, come on in, yeah, there's plenty of space, come. Just as an aside, in our order, we regard Sri Ramakrishna as an incarnation of God, and one of the things that is part of our belief system is that the Satya Yuga, the golden age in the Hindu idea of the cycle of ages, Satya Yuga started with Sri Ramakrishna. That's one of the ideas. Now that has always puzzled me. In what sense has Satya Yuga started? Not according to the calculations of traditional Hindu mythology or Hindu belief system. And really, in what sense is it the golden spiritual age that you see around? It doesn't seem to be particularly golden. But just earlier this year, a Swami, a very senior Swami, Brahmeshanandaji, in a talk I heard, he pointed out something very interesting. He said, look at the Ramakrishna movement, in the movement of the Ramakrishna order. Ultimately, whoever is attracted, whoever is sitting here, whoever has come to Sri Ramakrishna is interested in the teachings and the life of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, Ma Sharada and others, this entire movement. Basically, they all want moksha. They are not here for curing a disease or getting money or getting a promotion. No, there are temples and churches and mosques for that. Basically, those who are here in this movement, they are here for this higher spirituality. And this is in large numbers in this age, that in our order, but also in other movements across the world, you see large numbers of people becoming interested in this higher spirituality. And he said, this is Satya Yuga, the golden age of spirituality. Interesting interpretation. I mean, I liked it. So moksha is understood as freedom from this cycle of birth and death. The way a traditional Hindu will explain it, Janma Mrityu Chakra, the wheel of birth and death. A traditional Hindu or a Buddhist or a Jain or Sikh will say the cycle of birth and death, liberation from that, stopping that. It's not a good thing. Stop it. Come out of it. Then only you can find real happiness. Then only you can overcome suffering. So this is a key point to keep in mind. A takeaway from this talk, if you will, that what is moksha? It is freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from this cycle of birth and death. Why is there a cycle of birth and death? Because of the law of karma. Why is there a law of karma? It's causation, simple. Now, freedom from this cycle of birth and death. But not all people want it. Not all people want it. Very few people want it, actually. Most people, they want pleasure, they want the other three, dharma, artha, kama. One Vedanta text has classified people. They're big on classification. 5 types of this and 6 types of that and 10 types of the other thing. So one Vedanta text has classified all of us into 4 categories. Pamara, Vishayi, Sadhaka, Siddha. I'll translate. The first one is those who only want pleasure and wealth. I want to earn a lot of money and I want to blow it on a party. That is the whole philosophy of life. That's the whole philosophy of life. Yes. That kind of person is called Pamara. Pamara literally means an instinctive life. That which is instinctively, we are born with a kind of animal instinct and grab that and try to enjoy. It could just be pleasure. An addict, for example, lives for the next burst of pleasure from alcohol or drugs or whatever. A little more cultivated person, a little more a person who's got it together is out to earn a lot of money and have fun at the same time, and that's it. What about morality, ethics? As long as the police and the taxman IRS doesn't catch me, okay, that's the limit of morality. So that kind of person is called Pamara. The Pamara is actually an abusive word in many Indian languages. It means an uncultured person, unrefined person, animalistic person. Religion is not for this Pamara. How will this person evolve in that case? Only through suffering. The only teacher for the Pamara is the law of karma. There's this African American gentleman I met. He was driving me to the airport, and he told me something beautiful. He said, when he was a kid, his grandfather told him 2 things, that you learn in only 2 ways in life. The way of consequences and the way of discipline. Look at that. The way of consequences is precise, a beautiful way of putting the law of karma. Or, if you don't want to suffer, be ground down by the law of karma, the way of consequences, then you better follow the way of discipline. Right? Dharma, artha, kama. So, religion starts at the next level, not Pamara. The next level is the Vishayi. Vishayi means, literally if you translate it, in Sanskrit or in Indian languages, means a worldly person, but not in a pejorative, not in a bad sense. It means a decent, what earlier used to be called a God-fearing person who's ethical, decent, has standards, ethical standards. So this person, the Vishayi, is also pursuing pleasure, is also pursuing wealth, artha and kama, but on the basis of morals, on the basis of dharma. Build up the system in your mind. There's a Pamara who wants only artha and kama, 2 of the goals. There is the Vishayi who wants artha and kama, but on the basis of dharma. Now comes the 3rd category, the sadhaka, the spiritual seeker, which I think almost all of us, we all will be here. Unless you wandered in here with some other, without knowing what you are letting yourself in. Now you are trapped, you can't go. You have to hold on for 25 more minutes of this. So this is a sadhaka, a spiritual seeker, who is no longer primarily interested in pleasure or in wealth or in conventional morality to get pleasure and wealth. Still, of course, the person probably does hold a job, may have family responsibilities, might even catch the occasional movie, but that's not where this person is seeking satisfaction. This person now is a spiritual seeker, is seeking moksha. So the sadhaka is a person who is moksharthi, who is a seeker of moksha. I don't want artha and kama. I don't want the conventional morality for artha and kama. Of course, I'm still moral, because in order to have moksha, one must be moral. There must be perfect moral and ethical life as a basis for moksha. But that dharma is a nishkama, what we call nishkama dharma, not sakama dharma. The practice of dharma without any worldly goal. So this is the 3rd. There is one yet above that, siddha. The siddha is a perfected one, an enlightened being, a Buddha, a Vivekananda. How are they different? What are they seeking? Nothing. They are not seeking pleasure, they are not seeking wealth, they are not seeking conventional morality, they are not even seeking moksha because they have got it. Because they have got it. Shankaracharya sings in his famous hymn, Na dharmo na chartho na kamo na moksha. I want neither conventional morality, nor wealth, nor pleasure, not even freedom, spiritual freedom, not even moksha. Why? Chidananda rupaha shivoham shivoham. Because I am of the nature of infinite consciousness and existence. I am the nature of Shiva. I am the nature of Shiva. So, categorization according to that. And most of us, we will come in the third, unless you are one of the rare few who is already enlightened, in the Siddha. You know, a disguised a saint, a master in disguise, just sitting there. But the rest of us will be seekers, what is called sadhaka. Now, let's get into this idea of moksha. What is it? What happens at moksha? And how do you get it? I have about 15 or 20 minutes to survey this enormous literature of 5,000 years. The whole thing is about what is moksha and how do you get it. Broadly, there are I'll talk about three different approaches to moksha and how to get it. The spiritual enlightenment and how to get it. One is, when we first become conscious of the existence of God. You see, why is it that pursuit of pleasure and power and success does not bring lasting happiness? Why? Because this desire which is within us, you remember? Like it, love it, gotta have it. So, this desire which is within us is in a certain spiritual sense, it is infinite. The finite cannot satisfy it. That which does not last, that which melts away like snow on a hot day, that cannot satisfy the spiritual yearning within us. The poet speaks of the God-shaped hole in our lives. As we enter an age of agnosticism and atheism, there is a God-shaped hole in our lives. We are trying to fill it up. Pleasure and power and art and environment and science and literature and so many pursuits. To some, but not with much success. Even those we consider as heroes of our age kill themselves out of sheer meaninglessness. Why? Because no finite pleasure or success or whatever it is can fill up that infinite desire. Only the infinite can satisfy an infinite desire. The Upanishads say, Nalpe sukham asti. There is no true happiness in the limited. Then, Bhuma eva sukham. The infinite alone is happiness. When we come to this point, we come to the possibility, we sense the existence of the infinite. We call it God. In different religions, we call it God. Whether you call it Father in Heaven or Ahura Mazda or the Sikhs call it Ek Onkar or Vishnu or whatever, Shiva, Allah, whatever you call it. The possibility of an infinite, we call it God, and we stand in awe before it, we surrender to it, we worship it, we adore it. Our entire life becomes about that God. This is called the path of devotion. Most religions, conventional religions, follow this path. It's called bhakti, the path of devotion, path of love. Love directed to this infinite. So the path of devotion says moksha is possible. What would moksha consist of? That you go to this infinite. This God becomes a living reality to us, and we go and live with God. And this place where you live with God is called heaven. There are different names for this. It's a different place. Note, it's not this place. It's something else, somewhere else. And it's a different time. It's not now. Usually it's after death. So heaven is not here, it's there. It's not now, it's then. And what happens there? Well, you go and live in bliss, in complete satisfaction, no sorrow, no suffering, no death, no disease, no old age and suffering, no frustration, no hankering. You're fulfilled and you live eternally in the presence of the blissful Lord, and your heart is fulfilled. In different language, different religions, they all have this basic idea. This is one approach. It's called the approach of the way of bhakti, the way of love. And it is very powerful. In fact, I'll mention this, in India, the teachers of this way of love, bhakti, they have said even moksha can be dispensed with. If you get this mad love of the infinite, of God, then you don't even want moksha. They say that bhakti itself is the goal of human life. There is dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and there is a fifth goal called bhakti, love. And I'm in sympathy with that. Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel says that sometimes he says, God realization is the aim of human life. What's the goal of human life? God realization is the goal of human life. Again, connected back to where we started. All of this is basically looking for lasting happiness and overcoming suffering. So God realization will give us that. Sometimes he says, bhakti labh jivo niruddesho. Getting this bhakti, this infinite love for the infinite, this is the aim of life. And could well be that kind of love. You know, a teacher put it very beautifully. Do you want to be happy? Really, really intensely happy and right away? I said, yeah, sign me up. What do I have to do? He said, love God. Bring bhakti into your life. A strong, powerful love in the heart. Unhappiness will just go away. People in love are basically, they might get unhappy afterwards, but there's also a strong source of happiness. When the heart is full of love, even human love, there's always this strong place of happiness in the heart, like having a sun inside you. So imagine love for the infinite. Immediately you'll be happy. And that Swami went on to say it very nicely. Do you want to be happy, infinitely happy, lastingly happy right now? Love God. Start loving God right now. You'll be happy. Do you want to be deeply peaceful right now? Yes. Then dhyana yoga, raja yoga, practice samadhi. And do you want the truth right now? Yes. Come to jnana, jnana yoga. But this is one way. So moksha would be out of sheer love of God finally, after death probably. You go to this place where you live with God eternally. That's moksha. That's one kind of freedom. Another approach to moksha, the yogi in the Indian meditator sense. I went to a school here in LA. It was a Catholic school, and I had to talk to them about Hinduism. It's a religion class. When I mentioned yoga, one little kid said to me, "Oh, you have yoga in India too?" Yeah. The kids are more interested in Yoda than yoga today. Yeah, it's only the young people who laughed. The older generation, they don't know what is Yoda. There's a professor in Elizabethtown College who is a professor of Indian philosophy, Professor Jeffrey Long. He teaches a course on Vedanta and Star Wars. So I invited him to give a talk at the Vedanta Society in New York, and I selected the subject. The subject was the yoga of Yoda. And he said in the talk that when I give this talk to American boys and girls in the college, I have to explain yoga. Yoda they all know. I have to Star Wars they all know. But the Vedanta and the yoga, it has to be explained. And he said, in the Vedanta Society, where it's mostly older people, so he said, here I have to explain Star Wars. So more than half the lecture, he told the story, which I think every kid in the world knows by now. Anyway, so the way of the yogi says, no, not God, not faith in God, not surrender to God. All that is good, but that's not really what the moksha is about. What is moksha about? The problem is not lack of faith in God. The problem is our minds are so distracted. Our minds are so restless. If we could calm down the minds deeply, our own mind, if we could calm down, be absorbed in samadhi, then the truth about ourselves would be revealed. We are not part of material nature. This entire universe, including this body, the brain, nervous system, even the mind, this is material nature. We are none of it. We are infinite consciousness, becoming trapped, as it were, by material nature. In Sanskrit, Prakriti. Our real nature is Purusha, and material universe is Prakriti. Becoming trapped by it, we think we are bodies and minds, and we engage in various pursuits to get pleasure and power and wealth, and we get trapped in this cycle of birth and death. The way to moksha, they call it kaivalya, aloneness. It will become clear why. The way to moksha or kaivalya is to realize that you are that infinite spirit. How do you realize that? In meditation. So it's a whole science of meditation. Patanjali Yoga is like an archetype, the archetype of meditation, the basic manual of meditation, oldest. But there are a variety of meditation techniques across Hinduism, Buddhism. Buddhism has very developed meditation techniques, especially in the Zen traditions, and also especially in the Tibetan Buddhist traditions. All of them say that by meditation you can discover the truth and be free. Basically, by controlling the mind and calming the mind, the truth will be revealed. Swami Vivekananda, commenting on the sutra, Tada Drashtu Swarupe Avasthanam, in the Yoga Sutra, he says, when the mind is absolutely calm, it's like a lake whose water is lucid, pure, and still. Two things need to happen. The water has to be clear, and it has to be still. If it is wavy, you cannot see through it. If it is dirty, you cannot see through it. It has to be still and clear. The mind becomes like that. A pure mind and a still mind, it reveals the self, the real self beyond it or underneath it. You can see straight through the waters of the still, clear waters of a lake to the bottom of the lake. In the same way you realize. Otherwise what happens is, the next sutra says, Vritti Sarupyam Itaratra. The agitations of the mind, you, the pure consciousness, you become identified with the mind. Anger, I am angry. You'll say, obviously, if there's anger, I am angry. Who else is angry if there's anger? No, the yogi says there's a wave of anger in the mind. Just like there might be a boil or a cut in the body, it's just like that. An agitation in the mind. I am not affected by it. I am the witness of that. So that is the yogi's approach. Calm down the mind, concentrate the mind, the truth will be revealed to you. When you realize you are that immortal spirit, I really like that saying, we think we are human beings in search of a spiritual experience, but the truth is that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. When we realize that we are these spiritual beings, just that realization affects a cutting, a separation. Material nature, universe lets go of you. You separate away from material nature. So the free spirit, the free self, like a star in the night sky, shines in solitary splendor forever and ever. You remain as pure consciousness forever and ever. So that is called kaivalya, aloneness. Now you know why it's called aloneness. Sounds a little lonely, but anyway. But that's also moksha. That's the yogic idea of moksha. By the way, these are not all or nothing. It's not that you need bhakti and ultimately you'll have to go to heaven and then you get moksha. Before that, nothing. No. Every little bit you practice, you get results right now. Start right now. Love of God, you will get the result right now. You don't have to tell anybody. You will see it in your own heart. Meditation. Do it seriously, profoundly. For a short period, intensely, you will begin to see that there is some truth in this. Robert Wright, he's a neo-Darwinist, atheist. He's written this book, Why Buddhism is True. And he writes it's become a bestseller in bookstores and all. And he writes there that I don't subscribe to any kind of metaphysical claims of Buddhism, but I can clearly see meditation works. So do a little bit of meditation, far short of nirvana, far short of samadhi. You will get peace of mind to some extent. Okay. Now comes the third approach. If you're going, what were the first two? The first was love of God leading to moksha, freedom, which is eternally staying with this infinite God, God of religion. The second approach is the approach of meditators, of yogis, of Buddhists, where by meditation you discover the truth about yourselves, and discovering the truth sets you free. The Sankhya or the yoga philosopher will say, material nature lets you go. Prakriti and Purusha separate. The third approach is what I've been waiting to tell you actually, is the approach of jnana, knowledge, the non-dualist approach, which says, wait for it, moksha, I have news for you. You already got moksha. You already are free. All of us are already eternally free. We just don't know it. The whole problem is not to attain freedom or moksha. The whole problem is to realize that we already have moksha. You say, if that's so, then why are we here? We are here for moksha, right? Why are we here? In Vedanta, they have a saying, praptasya prapti nivrittasya nivritti. What you get on the path of knowledge in Vedanta, the moksha you get, is what you have already got. You've already got it. Vedanta tells you, points it out to you. Look there, you've got it. You don't get it anew or fresh. Because Vedanta says what has a beginning will come to an end. If you actually get moksha now, if freedom starts now, then that which starts now will come to an end one day. What use is that kind of freedom? That freedom is worthwhile, which is there all the time, which is there everywhere, and which is your very nature. Which is not limited in Sanskrit, not limited. Desha kala vastu paricheda shunya. Devoid of limitations of time, space, and object. At all times, at all places, and in everybody, in you, in me, and everybody, this moksha, the nature of freedom, is always there. But it is covered by ignorance, and the whole purpose of spirituality is to point out all the spirituality that we do, whether it's meditation or devotion or philosophical inquiry, all of that is to remove the wrong notion that we are not free. So you can see it goes to stratospheric levels. It's telling you that you are a Buddha right now. The only difference between Gautama Buddha and you or me is that he realized he was free. We don't realize that. We think we are in bondage and we will get freedom. We will go through a whole process of spiritual practice to get freedom. There is this story of the donkey. I love it. Yeah. It's like this. In India, when you wash clothes, at the time when there were no washing machines, even now, there are this whole profession of clothes washers, or washermen and washerwomen. They pick up the clothes from your house, and they have this donkey on which they load the unwashed clothes, and they take it to the river and they wash it, and you wouldn't want to know what they do to your fine clothes, the way they pound it, but they really get it clean. And then they spread it out in the hot sun on the rocks, and they spend the whole day there. It's all clean, and then they fold it, put it on the donkey, and come back home. Next day they come and deliver it at your home. I've seen that happen also when we were children. Now the story goes, this washerman, he has this donkey, and he goes out to the river to wash the clothes. When he reaches the river, to his shock, he discovers that he forgot to get the rope with which to tie the donkey to the tree. Now, if he goes and washes the clothes, the donkey will wander off, and he's a poor man. He can't afford it. His SUV is gone. While he's wondering what to do, does he have to go back? He'll lose a whole work day to go back home and just for the rope. This wise man walks past and says that, don't worry. All you have to do is just go to the donkey and pretend to tie it. Okay, will that work? Yes, try it. So he goes to the donkey, and as if he's got a rope, he whips it out. Nothing is there. And the donkey is watching like this. And he pretends to tie it tightly with the tree, and the donkey is watching, sort of whisking its tail and flapping its ears and looking. And then slowly the washerman takes the clothes and keeps looking back at the donkey. The donkey is standing perfectly still. And all day long while he's working, he keeps looking at the donkey once in a while, standing perfectly still, doesn't go anywhere. And he says, wow, so simple. And then the evening when he loads the washed clothes and says, okay, let's go. The donkey doesn't move. And now he's in trouble. If there was a real rope, he could have untied it. But there's no real rope. How can he free the donkey? No matter how he curses and cajoles the donkey, it doesn't move. I have a feeling the donkey might have a slight smile on its lips. And he runs to that wise person's house in the village and says, sir, what trouble you have landed me in? The donkey won't move and the sun is setting, it's getting dark. And the wise man says, oh, it's so simple. Pretend to untie the donkey in front of it. It goes and pretends to untie the donkey, and of course, the donkey starts moving. We may laugh at the donkey, but that's what is happening to us right now. According to Vedanta, the entire scheme of bondage and freedom, the whole project of moksha is basically tying the donkey and untying it. We are actually free. Nothing has tied us. Vivekananda says, thine only is the hand that holds the rope that drags thee on. You are holding the rope and it's dragging you on, life after life. Let go thy hold, sannyasi bold. Say Om Tat Sat Om. Vivekananda says that. But we will not let go. So for that, this entire process of saying you are in bondage, so now you need to do these practices, and until you realize that you are Brahman, the infinite spirit, the world is an appearance within you, you see it, an intuitive flash, it comes to you. But when it comes to you, you realize you are never in bondage. Moksha is your very nature. It's not something that we attain to. Our very nature at this moment is that we are eternally free. But if that makes you happy, oh, then I don't have to do anything. You need not. But then don't complain about suffering. Go back to the very beginning. We do all of this. Whether you are eating a cookie or earning money or doing good deeds or in art or in science or meditating or doing philosophy, whatever it is. All of this is basically to become happy and overcome suffering. As long as I honestly say to myself, I'm not yet happy, really. I have not overcome suffering. The process of tying and untying the donkey will have to continue. It's no use saying that I am already free. So moksha, this journey, we have just about completed it, is this project. Whichever way, I'm not saying the way of knowledge is superior to the others. Vivekananda said, do it by love, do it by meditation, do it by good works, serving others, service, do it by knowledge, philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. That is the whole of religion. Books, temples, doctrines, and churches are but secondary details. Moksha is the point of all of religion. One non-dualist text says, the one, it's rather harsh, the one who seeks spiritual liberation, that person is human. Those who seek pleasure and wealth, they're no better than animals. The person who seeks enlightenment, a seeker after spiritual liberation, that person is actually a human being. I'm done. We have a little bit of time, so if you want to ask a question quickly, I'll try to give. Yes, at the back. Yes. Make it precise so that others can ask.
So if I want to start like studying all the literature, Vedanta, what's the best way to start if I want to do it all on my own?
So what's the best way to start?
Yeah.
Well, one book if you would like to read is the Bhagavad Gita. I would recommend that. And a very good introduction to spiritual life is through Vivekananda's works. Simple, direct, and powerful. It has a life-transforming effect. Questions? The lady here, yes. Just wait for that.
Swami, if we embrace the idea that time is not linear,
yes,
how do we think of karma, the chain of karma that we're carrying, if there's no past and there's no future?
All right. That's a tough one. Actually, the non-dualist answer to that is space and time and causation. Causation is karma. And space, this is space, and time. All of them are in consciousness. You see, normally we think, I am here in space. Here is space and I am in space. That's because I'm thinking of myself as a body. Try this. In your dreams, when you dream, an entire world with its own space and time is there. When you wake up, you realize it was a dream. But notice one thing. All of that space which felt real, all of that time which felt real, was later discovered to be nothing but your mind. It is all here. Exactly like that. Can you see this space that you're seeing here? Is your experience of yourself as I am here and this is space outside me? Or, follow this carefully, I am an awareness in which the body and space appear. Which is a true description of what you're experiencing right now. You'll see the later description, the second description is a true description of what you're experiencing right now. Just look at the quality of your experience. Do you experience that there is a space and there is me and I am in space? Or I am the awareness in which body and space are equally presented. By identifying with the body and separating myself from all others, I feel located in space. You are not located in space. Space is in you. Exactly like that, the passage of time is in you. You are not a dot of consciousness moving from the past to the present to the future. Rather, the whole thing is within you, is superimposed upon you. It appears within you. So, neither linear nor cyclical, time itself is an illusion. Even now, I think modern physics is coming around to that point of view. That time itself is, for different reasons, illusory. I'll leave it at that. Time, space, causation, including the much vaunted law of karma, they are appearances in that one consciousness which is free, moksha, which you are at this moment. Yeah.
Hi. On Sunday, I was taking a class at a Hindu temple.
Yes.
On the Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
And the teacher and many of the students believe in transmigration.
Yes.
The people can come back as animals. It kind of relates to what you said, that some people exhibit purely animal nature.
Yeah.
I don't know if Vedanta believes in transmigration. I was just curious.
Okay. I'm glad you asked. One of my favorite, what is it? Hobby horse? Okay. You asked for it now. This whole idea of going through births and deaths, propelled by past karma. And then you realize you are Brahman, that infinite existence. And then it ceases. That movement ceases. Why does it cease? Psychologically, because you're fulfilled. You are the infinite. So what would you want? But also practically, you might ask a question, what about the past karma? It was all there. And that's what's giving us new births. So suppose you become enlightened. What happens to the past karma? According to the Upanishads, all the past karma is burnt up by the fire of knowledge. That creates a special problem for Vedanta, for Advaita Vedanta. Why? Remember, why do I have this body? Because of past karma. If all past karma is wiped out, then the body should also disappear right now. So an enlightened person should die immediately. Enlightenment should be equivalent to suicide, right? Not an attractive proposition. I remember seeing one of the Star Wars movies, that little Yoda, when he dies, just the clothes fall to the ground, the body disappears. So, something like that should happen to the enlightened person, but obviously it does not. Because all the enlightened people, the non-dualists, they're very much in the body. Some of them even put on weight after enlightenment. So, now the body persists after enlightenment. Which means karma also persists after enlightenment. Without karma, how can the body persist? Because the whole theory is we are here because of our past karma. So they have to go through this a kind of complicated situation where all the past karma is burnt out except that part which has given rise to this body. They give many examples, like if you're shooting arrows and you stop shooting, so you throw away the quiver full of arrows. If you have an arrow fixed on the bow, you throw that away. But if you released an arrow, that arrow you cannot do anything about. So past karma is like that. The karma which produced this body is like that. It will go on until it's exhausted. This body dies, but there will be no future birth and death for the enlightened person. This is the general model, the standard model. It's not right. It's not right. You know what is right? Shankaracharya points out in Aparoksha Anubhuti. He says this is just a kind of placeholder, an explanation for people who ask questions. But really, the truth is, when you realize you are Brahman, actually what happens at enlightenment is this. Shankaracharya makes it very clear in Aparoksha Anubhuti towards the end. He says, what happens at enlightenment is, you do not realize that, oh, I had gone through so many lives, now this is my last life, after this I will not be born again. That seems to be the story which I told you right now. Shankaracharya says, no, that's not what happens. When you become enlightened, you realize I was never born. Not even once. And I'm not even born right now. And I'll never be born in the future. So I am that unborn consciousness in which this entire movie, the game of life, is appearing, but not real. So in the movie, karma is part of the plot of the movie, but it's still a movie. There's no real law of karma. Even the law of karma, Shankaracharya, very naturally, he's a non-dualist. So only Brahman is real. The world is an appearance. Karma is part of the world. The world itself is produced by karma. Karma is also an appearance. Time is an appearance. Space is an appearance. And karma is also an appearance, relating to what you asked. So what is the non-dualist's position on karma? At the level of relative reality, in Sanskrit, vyavaharika, transactional reality, karma is admitted. But there is a deeper truth where there is no karma. There never was, is not, and will not be there. So enlightenment, from the non-dualist perspective, actually, really speaking, is not freedom from karma, is the falsification of the entire story, realizing that it was never real to begin with. One of our monks in the Himalayas, in Denver, I met this most remarkable little girl. She's 7 years old. And she said, Swami, why are you, and she's of course American educated. She said, why are you saying Himalayas? It's Himalayas. I said, thank you. So I made a promise to her to correct myself. So Himalayas. In the Himalayas, one of our Swamis he was troubled by this question of the Hindus and the Buddhists. We speak about many births and the law of karma. But the Abrahamic religions, Christians and Muslims and Jews, they speak about one life. So which is true? The theory of rebirth or one birth? Multiple lives or one life? Which is true? And the other monks in the ashram grew tired of his arguments, so they would stop listening to him. So he took his argument shop outside to a great teacher of non-dual Vedanta and asked him, it really works better in Hindi, asked him, Punarjanma, this means rebirth, is it true? And this non-dualist, this great master, his answer is his tremendous answer. He said, Hindi first and then English. He said, Are Mahatma ji, jab janm hi nahi to punarjanma kahe ka? He said, Oh Swami, when there is no birth, where is the question of rebirth? You haven't been born even once. And then he said, Jaiye Mandukya padhiye, go and read Mandukya Upanishad. So that's the ultimate non-dualist position. They dispense with karma, they dispense with many births, not even one birth. And no question of many births. You are Brahman, in which this life it's like a movie show, it's appearing in you. This is not real. So that's the ultimate position of Advaita Vedanta. But all the other Hindu philosophies, they take it. The world is real and karma is real. And you have to get out of this chain of karma. Somebody else had their hand up. Oh, the lady at the back. I'll come back to you. I will end with you. Yeah. Wait for the microphone.
You're already answering my question, but I still want to ask it. Last Tuesday, you said that consciousness is unchanging. And then my question last week was, well, what the hell are we all doing here if it's unchanging? I mean, in Western thought, it's more God is learning, knowing itself through us. But you're saying something differently. If it doesn't change at all, if consciousness doesn't change, then what is this?
All right. If consciousnus does not change, it is unborn, undying. You are referring to last Tuesday's talk, which was based on Gaudapada's Karika, which says the ultimate truth. It's related to today's talk. Whatever we talked about today, Gaudapada dismisses it in one verse. He says the universe was never created and obviously will never be destroyed. The donkey was never tied and obviously cannot be untied because it was never tied. Nobody is in bondage. Nobody ever gets liberation. In fact, there is no moksha. Na mukta, na moksha. Na mumukshur, na moksha. So there is no bondage, no liberation. Why no liberation? Because there is no bondage. If somebody is bound, you can liberate that person. So that is Gaudapada's position, and he says this is the ultimate truth. But now we can understand in what sense he is saying it. Now if you say that, all right, if we accept it, then why all this? That's a huge question. But I'll give you one beautiful answer. The answer is in one word in the Upanishads. Ananda, bliss. This entire universe is nothing but the joy or the bliss of Brahman. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, there is something, just feel the poetry of that. There's a line which says, Kaf pranyat ko anyat yadiyesha akasha anandanasyat. Who could breathe in and who could even breathe out even once if this infinite universe, the space of delight did not exist? This space filled with delight, this is Brahman. This entire life is nothing other than the delight of Brahman. It's a very poetic way of saying. It's your delight, it's your joy. It's an outpouring of joy, this universe. Why does Brahman do it? The answer is very American, because it can. Yes. The last question there. We have run out of time. There's the gentleman here, the young man there. Yes.
Hi, Swami. Previously, when you were talking about moksha, you talked about the Mandukya Upanishad.
Yes.
And one of the things you talked about was about deep sleep. And I don't know if this is a formal justification, but you said that there's awareness in deep sleep. Otherwise, when you're awake, you wouldn't say, I was in deep sleep. There's a similar argument in the Drigdrisha Viveka. I think it says that there was awareness before your body existed. Otherwise, you wouldn't be aware of your body existing, not existing. This sort of argument sometimes convinces me, but sometimes it seems like a play on language. Could you further justify it?
I would always say refer to your experience. The more I study and understand Vedanta, the more I see it is not leaving experience by even the slightest. We may think it's pointing to something extraordinary, pure consciousness, absolute being, absolute existence. No, it is not saying anything any more dramatic than saying that this lectern is made of wood. It's not an abstraction, it's not a theory, it's not philosophizing. It is made of wood. The reality of this thing is wood. In the same way, this is the absolute. We just don't see it. So, my answer to you would be, instead of trying to understand it logically, you just spin your wheels. But the data is available to you. Instead of trying to think it could be this way or that way, the data is available to you. You sleep. You have an experience of sleeping. You have an experience of awakening. Follow your experience. Think back upon your experience. What did it feel like? Didn't it feel like you have experienced deep sleep? Right? It's something in my experience. The reason it doesn't seem to be convincing is our normal way of knowing is through the mind. When the mind shuts down in deep sleep, we think it's nothing. Because our way of knowing is through the mind. Through the mind, I see, hear, smell, touch, taste, think, remember, analyze, desire, hate, love, whatever. Those things seem real because they are being done through the mind. But the mind is lit up by consciousness. We are not aware of consciousness apart from the mind. Become aware of awareness, if that's the way I can use it, because it's exactly what Sri Ramakrishna says, bodhe bodh kara. The only way I can translate into English is becoming aware of awareness, by awareness. And it's something that's available to us right now, but it's a very different way of looking at things. Just by the way, I'll end with this. Today I saw in the news a report that a new paper has been published to show that there is actually consciousness under deep anesthesia, let alone deep sleep. They're reporting consciousness in deep anesthesia. That was very startling. All right, I think we'll end here. I'll do it with a peace chant. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.